Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to another MLB The Show 22 tier list video on the channel. And today we're going to be doing first baseman. Going to be ranking the best first baseman in the game, or most of the first basemen in the game that are above gold. I left out some live series cards, but most of the first basemen in the game that are usable are on here, and even then some of these cards are not usable. So today we'll be talking about all of the first basemen on your screen. But before we get into the rest of the video, guys, make sure you guys drop a like down below and subscribe with notifications on if you guys have been enjoying the vids and you do not want to miss any coming out in the future. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into it now for this video, because there are so many first basemen, and you're probably going to see this for a lot of videos. If a card is blatantly obviously good in S tier, I won't show the stats, and if a card is blatantly bad and I won't show the stats, I'll just talk about it. Starting off, we have gold 84 overall Justin Morneau. Now, depending on how the video changes, I might move some stuff around, but Justin Morneau, solid against righties, can't hit lefties, okay lefty bat, not a great defender. Obviously, defense isn't super important at first base. So Justin Morneau is fine, but I can't see myself putting him above E tier. Next up, we have the monthly awards Ty France. I don't know how I feel about this card, honestly, here. Let me go ahead and pull up his stats real quick. Ty France. Ty France is a guy you can play at second base as well. That's nowhere near a bad option. He's got really solid contact, okay power, solid defender. We're obviously not taking into account his second base ability. He's definitely better than Justin Morneau. He's got a righty swing. But if I were to rank Ty France, I'm thinking low C for now. Maybe he moves up for me. Maybe I'm overrating some of the top guys, but it feels too high to put him anything higher than that right now. I'm thinking about even putting him D, so definitely an option there. But let's go ahead and talk about the next card, a very solid looking card. We have David Ortiz. Looking at David Ortiz's stats, he looks absolutely incredible. A lefty bat, which obviously lefty bats are still very good, but a righty bat is probably preferred at this point. Crushes righties, very good against lefties. Defense really doesn't matter all that much. David Ortiz, for me, is A tier. Very good first baseman. You got him out of that event, and if you didn't get him out of that event, still cheap. He's around 24k, so definitely not a bad option at all at first base. And next up, we got the April Player of the Month, Anthony Rizzo. Once again, solid first base option, really good contact, solid defense for a first baseman, really good power, solid contact, lefty bat. Once again, this card is definitely better than that Ty France. But do I think he's A tier? I think he's B tier right now. That's where I'd put him. He might get moved up to A tier, low A tier in a little bit, but for now, that's where I see Anthony Rizzo. Next up, we got 84 overall Joe Mauer from the Battle Royale program. He's honestly not even that bad. He's got really solid contact, and he's good against righties. He's a great defender at first base, but he just can't hit lefties. Or, well, he'll be able to put the ball in play against lefties, but he won't hit for any power against lefties. So, Joe Mauer, definitely better than that Justin Morneau. I think I'm going to put him D tier for now. I think he's definitely not bad. He's a solid gold first baseman, but I can't see myself wanting to ever use that card. Maybe that's just because I have a God Squad, so that's why there. Next up, we got Jimmy Fox. He was also in the catchers video. Jimmy Fox, great contact, okay power, solid power, not a great defender, but obviously that doesn't matter. He's honestly got solid speed for a first baseman. Jimmy Fox, to me, is just like a worse Anthony Rizzo, so I think I'm gonna put him right there. Yeah, I think he's a worse Anthony Rizzo. That's the way I see him. So I think he's low B, maybe high C, depending on where some more stuff needs to move. But for now, I think that's a pretty solid spot for him. Next up, we got 92 All-Star Jason Giambi. Honestly, not a bad first baseman card at all. Very good against righties, solid against lefties, a lefty bat. There are a lot of lefty first basemen in the game right now, and he's obviously bad on defense. This, to me, is a worse David Ortiz, and I think I'd rather have Jason Giambi than Jimmy Fox. I don't know about Anthony Rizzo, because Anthony Rizzo has a ton of power and really solid contact on both sides. I think I'd rather have Anthony Rizzo, but it's honestly close between him and Jason Giambi. Next up, we have the other Justin Morneau card that you get from the Twins collection, and this card is basically just a better gold Justin Morneau. He's very solid against righties, not great but okay against lefties. Another lefty bat. To me, this is a D tier card, and he's just above Joe Mauer. I think the gold Justin Morneau is not as good as the gold Joe Mauer, but I think the diamond Justin Morneau is a little bit better than the gold Joe Mauer. And next up, we have Nick Prado. I have not used this card all year, and I honestly haven't even looked at him that much, so let's see him. This is one of my first times seeing him. A lot of these Future Stars cards are very good. Another lefty bat at first base, so lefty bats are very common, so righty bats are very valuable at first base. But incredible power, incredible contact, incredible fielding, solid speed. This is just a better Rizzo. He's got similar contact, he's got he's got similar power, better contact, and much better fielding with similar speed. Nick Prado, to me, is better than Ortiz, but it's close. I think Ortiz really, really crushes, and I think his swing is amazing. They're both lefty bats, but Nick Prado, I think, might just be that little bit better. Next up, we got a guy who's been in the game all year, Prince Fielder, coming out of that NL Central collection. Once again, this card almost looks identical to Anthony Rizzo. The only thing, his fielding is a little worse. Now, that's not going to make a huge difference at first base. They're both lefty bats, but I mean, just because of that defense, and he has a little worse hitting stats, I think he's a little bit worse Anthony Rizzo. That's where Prince Fielder fits for me. Definitely not bad, though. Prince Fielder is a solid card. You get him by completing the NL Central collection. The NL Central is somewhat cheap, I believe, because the Guardians are like the only expensive team, I think, in there. So definitely not too bad right there at all. Next up, we got Eddie Murray, who was in the last program. Honestly, not too bad. You love switch hitters, so a switch hitting first baseman is a huge advantage. He's got solid hitting against righties, okay against lefties. He's a good defender. Eddie Murray is honestly really good for a card that's kind of a throwaway in a collection card in programs. I really like the switch hit ability on him, and I would honestly rather use this Eddie Murray than that Jimmy Fox. I'm gonna move the Jimmy Fox to the top of C tier, but I think that Eddie Murray is honestly really solid. I think at B he fits in pretty well. Next up, we got gold Paul Konerko. You get him from those starter gold packs that are also still in this program, but were in the first program of the year. And honestly, his hitting stats are not that bad. Very solid contact on both sides, poor power. This to me is just a better Mauer and Morneau from that D tier. He's obviously not as good a defender, but once again, at first base, that really doesn't matter. Konerko honestly looks pretty solid, and I think I can say that he's very similar to this Justin Morneau, and they're very close, but I don't think the difference is super huge there. Next up, we got Diamond Todd Helton from that first Big Dog pack, and this Todd Helton to me feels like equivalent to Jimmy Fox. He's got a little bit better power, a little worse contact, a little better fielder. It all kind of evens out to me. Todd Helton, not the best card in the game. I think I'd rather have him than Ty France, but I wouldn't have him over Jimmy Fox. Yeah, another lefty bat, just not all that great. And yeah, I'll take Jimmy Fox over him, but it's definitely close. Next up, we got a card that is surprisingly good. We got Jim Thome. Absolutely crushes righties with that power, solid against lefties. Once again, I don't know what it is with lefty first baseman, but I think we haven't seen a righty first baseman yet, which is crazy. We've seen a switch hitter with Eddie Murray, but I don't think we've seen a righty first baseman yet, which is absolutely nuts. Or no, Ty France is a righty first baseman. So there's that. But Jim Thome, incredible hitting stats, or not incredible for an 88 overall diamond, honestly. Like very solid hitting stats here. Solid fielding. Definitely not a bad card. Well, not solid fielding. I don't know what I'm saying. Bad fielding, but that doesn't matter, obviously. Jim Thome, I mean, I'm going to put him top of C because I don't think he's quite B. I think that switch hitting elevates Eddie Murray to B. If he didn't have switch hitting, he'd be C. So I think he's top of C, but I'd rather have that Jim Thome than that Jimmy Fox, honestly. And for me, maybe it's because I really value balanced hitting. And like I said, if you're playing on legend difficulty, I'd much rather have Jimmy Fox or Todd Helton or Ty France. But in 90% of games, Jim Thome is going to be better for you because of that power. Next up, we got Monty Irvin. And honestly, he doesn't look that good. He's a solid defender, which, I mean, okay. And he's pretty good against righties. He can't hit lefties. This card feels like he's going to go in D tier to me. I think he's better than Paul Konerko, but not by a lot, honestly. For an 89 overall diamond, Monty Irvin is not very good. And next up, we got Tristan Casas right here. And he's honestly not that bad either. Once again, another lefty bat. Seem to only be seeing him. Pretty dang good against righties. He's solid. And okay against lefties. Good fielding, which really doesn't matter, obviously. But you love, like, having good fielding on a first baseman, it definitely adds to how good they are. But having bad fielding doesn't take away from a first baseman. That's the way I see it. And honestly, Tristan to me, he falls probably into C tier. But I think he's just... actually, I'd probably have him below the rest of these guys because there's nothing that really stands out about him. But I definitely think he's better than D. I think he's an average hitter at first base. Definitely nowhere near bad. And next up, we have the lowest rated card on this list. We have Ryan Howard, the silver. Very solid against righties. Okay against lefties. Pretty poor against lefties, honestly. Very bad fielding. Lefty bat once again. The only reason I included him is because he's a special card at a BR. This is maybe not the worst card we've seen so far. Let me look at that Justin Morneau one more time, the gold one, to see. Yeah, I'd probably rather have silver Ryan Howard than this Justin Morneau card. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna move a couple things around. I think I'm gonna do Ryan. No, we'll keep them in E tier for now because I think they're still usable. Like, Morneau is solid against righties, and Ryan Howard has a ton of power against righties, so I still think they're not bad, but they're pretty bad. And then next up, we got Tops Now Rowdy Tellez. This card is fun. I've used it quite a bit. Very, very good against righties. Solid against lefties. Not a defender, obviously. Another lefty bat, which is absolutely crazy. But he crushes righties. He's solid against lefties. I think, to me, he's top of D, bottom C. I think he's better than Tristan Casas, but I don't think I could put him above guys like Ty France or Todd Helton. But he's definitely solid. Definitely solid. Next up, we got Colin Moran from the Reds. Another Tops Now card. And once again, a lefty bat. Very good against righties. Not great against lefties. This is a little bit worse Rowdy Tellez, and that's the way I say it. He's going to go right here for me. They're very similar, though. Colin Moran and Rowdy Tellez are almost interchangeable if you were to have one higher than the other. Just because their swing, that would be fine with me. But I personally really like Rowdy Tellez's swing, so I'm fine with him there. If you guys want to move some stuff around, that is cool. And also, I didn't mention this in my catchers video, but the link to this tier list is going to be in the description, so make sure to check it out if you want to do it. Next up, we got Spencer Torkelson of the Tigers, one of the best prospects in the league. Very good and balanced hitting stats across the board. Not bad fielding for a first baseman. Spencer Torkelson looks honestly really solid. To me, I think he's on par with Eddie Murray, but because of that switchability of Eddie Murray, I'm going to have him just be a little bit better. But I think Spencer Torkelson is a honest to God very solid option at first base. And next up, we got another Tops Now and a guy who's been going off in real life. We got Josh Naylor. Once again, very, very similar to what we've been seeing out of the Rowdy Tellez and the Colin Moran. Good against righties, bad against lefties, lefty bat, bad defender. Josh Naylor, to me, is a little better than Colin Moran, but not as good as Rowdy Tellez. They're all so similar. They fall right into the same category. And honestly, you could take any of them over the other and I'd be fine with it. Next up, we got Jared Walsh the Topps Now collection reward at 45 cards, and this card is very, very solid. Another lefty bat with very good hitting stats, crushes righties, great against lefties, solid defense for a first baseman, honestly very good defense for a first baseman, and not bad speed. Jared Walsh, to me, is one of the best first basemen in the game. I don't think I can take him over Nick Prado, but I think I can take him over David Ortiz. I'd put him A tier right there. Very, very solid. Oh my god, I did not realize there were this many lefty first basemen in the game. It is absolutely crazy how many there are, and I understand why people are really trying to find righties right now. Next up, we got a card that is surprisingly good. We got Carlos Delgado. It's not the worst defender ever, with 69 fielding. Not great, not good, but okay. And he absolutely crushes righties for a gold. He's very solid against righties. Can't hit lefties at all. But Carlos Delgado is pretty solid. Carlos Delgado, from what I was expecting out of this card, he's very solid. I expected to throw him into F tier, but I would rather have this Carlos Delgado card than the Ryan Howard. I think he is top of E tier for me. Could argue that he goes to D tier, but I don't think he's quite there. Let me take a look at that Joe Mauer one more time to just see. Yeah, Joe Mauer, just because of that contact, maybe stays ahead of him. What about that Diamond Justin Morneau? Let me look at him one more time as well. Morneau, very balanced hitting stats. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to move down Mauer, and I'm going to put him behind Delgado, honestly, because Delgado just crushing one side really, really helps out his case. But Mauer is going to go in E with Delgado holding the top of E. And next up, we got the other Carlos Delgado, the very high overall one. And I think nobody's questioning that this Carlos Delgado is one of the best first basemen in the game, possibly the best righty splits in the game with 110, 113. Crushes lefties as well. Is honestly not a bad defender at first base. He's about average. So Carlos Delgado, for me, first S tier first baseman for me. Very, very good card. Definitely don't mind him at all. Next up, we got a guy, I could never remember his name, but now I got it down. Michael Toglia for the Colorado Rockies. I rave about this guy a lot, but that's just because he is a switch hitter with incredible defense and incredible hitting stats. He's got really good power on both sides. He crushes both sides with contact and power, and he's a great defender. To me, I don't think a lot of people are a fan of this, but I think Michael Toglia is an S tier. Would I take him over Carlos Delgado? I think it's very, very close. I think they are honestly interchangeable. You know what? I'm taking Michael Toglia over Carlos Delgado just because of that switch hit ability. I think that switch hit ability is so valuable at any position on the field, being able to hit both sides, and the fact that he's got really solid contact against both sides really helps. To me, Michael Toglia is the best first baseman we've seen so far, but coming up, I think we got a guy who's just a little bit better. And next up, we have 91 overall Paul Goldschmidt, who came out of the Always Intense pack. And he's pretty solid, man. He's very good against righties, incredible contact, really solid against lefties, good fielding at first base. Paul Goldschmidt is a great option. He also is a righty bat. You really do not see many righty bats at first baseman. To me, I think he's a better Spencer Torkelson, and I think he's better than Eddie Murray just because that righty hitting is so valuable. Obviously, Eddie Murray as a switch is very good. I would put Paul Goldschmidt at the top of B, honestly. I think him being able to bat righty is just so unbelievably valuable at this point in the game, and he's got more balanced stats than a guy like Anthony Rizzo or Prince Fielder. So I think Paul Goldschmidt really holds up as a righty bat, and I think he's one of the best first basemen in the game, honestly. Next up, we got Diamond Kevin Youkilis from the Red Sox set. Honestly, not a bad first baseman at all. Incredible defender at first base. Hits righty, got some solid contact, really good against righties, okay against lefties. Kevin Youkilis is honestly very, very solid. I don't think I would take him over any of these guys, but I think he's better than Tristan Casas. I think he's in that C tier range. If you need a budget righty bat, he is your guy for sure. For sure, he is your guy. There is honestly nobody else as a righty bat that you can get particularly cheap. So very, very solid right there. Next up, we got Orlando Cepeda. Meh, he very good against lefties. Not that good against righties. Bad defender. Average speed. A righty bat does add to it a little bit. But because he's not able to hit righties, kind of does take it down a little bit for me. Orlando Cepeda, to me, feels like a better Kevin Youkilis. I think that does elevate him above the rest of these Tops Now cards, but I don't think he's better than guys like Ty France, just because Ty France has really good contact on both sides and can put the ball in play, while a guy like Rowdy Tellez is really just going to hit to one side and hit the ball really well to one side. And same with like Josh Naylor and Colin Moran. So Cepeda's solid. Nothing particularly special though about him. Next up, we got rookie Jose Abreu right here. This card is honestly really solid. Bad fielding, obviously, no speed. Kind of hurts him a tiny bit, but not really, because like I said, fielding doesn't really hurt first baseman all that much. Crushes lefties, very solid against righties. To me, Jose Abreu, as a righty bat, goes above Paul Goldschmidt for me. I think he's a better Paul Goldschmidt. He's a more balanced Paul Goldschmidt. And now that I was looking at Anthony Rizzo's stats, I think I'm going to put Paul Goldschmidt just below Anthony Rizzo. But I genuinely think Jose Abreu is a better bat than Anthony Rizzo. Oh, Jose Abreu is a better bat than Anthony Rizzo. Yeah, that's what I said. And next up, we got the monthly awards, Pete Alonso. Haven't really used this card. I don't think I've used him at all, honestly. And he looks solid on paper, man. He's got incredible hitting stats. Not that bad at fielding, honestly. Doesn't have an arm, but very good against lefties. Very good against righties as well. Once again, I think we're just one-upping ourselves each time. I think Pete Alonso is in A tier. I think he's below David Ortizo. I think he's bottom A, but he's definitely better than Abreu because he's got that little bit better fielding, little bit better speed, and equivalent to a little bit better hitting stats. So that's where I see that. Next up, we got a guy I am a huge fan of in real life, one of my favorite players of all time, Carlos Santana, Silver Slugger card. Switch hitter at first base. I cannot say it enough. So valuable. Really good, or really solid defender, above average at first base for sure. Crushes lefties. Very solid against righties. To me, this is a better Carlos Delgado. He's a better defender than Carlos Delgado, and then he has very similar stats to Carlos Delgado, and Delgado is not a switch hitter. I think Santana is just a little bit better than Delgado, but I think Tolia is still a little bit better than Santana, just because he really doesn't have that weak spot in his hitting stats. He's very balanced, and I really like Michael Tolia. Next up, we got a card I don't think I've even looked at, honestly, until now. Don Mattingly. Love him in real life, especially as a coach, but let's see what he looks like right here. Another lefty bat. Got a lot of contact against righties, no power really. Solid against lefties, very good defender. Mattingly's very underwhelming, man. He doesn't like hit either side particularly great. He hits them both solid. Like, I don't think this card is higher than C tier. I think he's a lefty bat as well. I mean, I don't know. I think I'd rather have Rowdy Tellez than Josh Naylor and Colin Moran. I think he's just above Kevin Youkilis, but not much higher than that for me, man. He doesn't honestly look all that good. And next up, we got Rod Carew coming from the Twins. Ton of contact, literally no power, bad fielding, good speed, but Rod Carew can't hit. So, I mean, I can't put him higher than, I think he's our first F tier card, honestly. Like, he literally can't hit. Like, he'll put the ball in play, maybe, depending if he doesn't hit it to a player, but he's never going to hit a home run. No possible way this Rod Carew hits a home run. And he'll be running the bases at above average speed. Good speed for a first baseman, but compared to everyone else, Rod Carew is bad. I'd honestly rather have Silver Ryan Howard than Rod Carew, just because Ryan Howard can at least hit one side. Rod Carew can literally not. Next up, we have the Lou Gehrig's Day. Lou Gehrig. I don't remember much about this card. I remember everyone got him free, obviously. Very solid against lefties and very solid against righties. This card to me just looks like a better Don Mattingly with a little worse fielding. So I think think, is he just ahead of Don Mattingly? I think so, honestly. Like, Lou Gehrig is not that good. That Lou Gehrig card, not that good, honestly. I think he's just ahead of Don Mattingly because he's got better hitting stats. And next up, we got another card that looks surprisingly similar to the Jason Giambi and Todd Helton card. It's probably because they're all based off cards in real life from 2002. We got Jeff Bagwell right here, coming in for the Astros. Crushes lefties. Solid against righties. Above average fielding. Jeff Bagwell is not bad. He absolutely crushes lefties. I think that elevates him to above Rowdy Tellez in them for me because he's a righty bat, but I still don't think I'd take him over Ty France or Jim Thome or any of these guys. So not too bad, but not a guy I'm going to be taking all that often. And next up, we got our first live series card here. We got CJ Cron. Very solid stats, honestly. Very good against righties, solid against lefties, great power against lefties. Bad fielding, I'd say average fielding, I guess you could say. CJ Cron, I think he's just a worse Don Mattingly, honestly. That's where I see him. I think he's just above Kevin Youkilis, but I don't think he's that great, personally, CJ Cron. He just doesn't hit either side particularly well. He hits righties pretty well, but lefties aren't amazing. I think CJ Cron, worse Don Mattingly. And next up, we have Tony Perez coming in for the Reds, a gold card. And, I mean, he's got okay hitting stats, and he's okay defensively. Tony Perez, to me, is like a little worse than Delgado, but that's where I think he finds himself, personally. And then next up, we got another Lou Gehrig's card, but this one is not a very, very good one. This, to me, is a worse Perez, which we just saw, and he's okay against righties, bad against lefties, and a worse defender than Perez, so I think Lou Gehrig finds himself just above Ryan Howard, but that's it. Now let's talk about Paul Molitor. That makes more sense. Good contact, bad power, bad defensively. Seen that a lot. I think that lands him. I think he's bottom C. His power is just poor, very, very poor. And next up, we got, to me, undoubtedly the best first baseman in the game. We have Frank the Tank Thomas. Doesn't have a weakness when it comes to hitting. Incredible splits against lefties, incredible splits against righties. Doesn't play defense, but that doesn't matter. He's the best first baseman in the game. An incredible righty bat. Frank Thomas, very, very good card. And next up, we got a card who's honestly really underrated. We got live series Paul Goldschmidt. Very, very good against lefties. Very solid against righties. This is literally just an upgraded version of that 91 overall card that we saw earlier. And I think he's a little bit better than that. I think he falls just ahead of Jose Abreu, honestly. I think he's top of B right there. Honestly, a solid card. Not bad at all. And next up, we got our first face of the franchise card. Oops, didn't even show you that. We got our first face of the franchise card. Joey Votto right here. Good against righties, bad against lefties, okay defender. We've seen it a lot already. A guy who's good against one specific side, but not the other. I think just because he's good against righties, I think he falls just above Jeff Bagwell. But once again, I think I'd rather have the guy who's got really good contact on both sides, like Ty France or Todd Helton, but I don't think he's better than either of them. I think he's solid, though. Joey Votto, nowhere near bad. Next up, we got another CJ Cron card. We saw his live series not too long ago. Here we go. We got CJ Cron, face of the franchise card. And this card is sort of like a worse Delgado to me. A righty bat. Or no, he's like a worse Santana if he wasn't a switch hitter to me, actually. Honestly, okay defender. Good against lefties, not great against righties. So Cron, I think, is definitely higher than C tier. He only really hits one side great, but he's a very solid defender, a righty bat. I think he finds himself just ahead of Torkelson, but I think he's just below Eddie Murray. That's where I'd put him. Next up, we got 88 overall Ryan Howard from the Cover Athletes pack. Incredible power, very good contact against right, bad contact against left. This is honestly like a lefty crone, which we just saw. And I think because of that, he's gonna go C tier because he's lefty. And I think I'd rather have him over Jimmy Fox, but not over Jim Tomei. Yeah, that's where I'd put Ryan Howard right there, top of C tier. Nowhere near bad though, so he's pretty solid, pretty average. Next up, we got David Ortiz coming from the Red Sox. Looks like a worse Jim Tomei to me. Honestly, that's the way I see this card. Not a worse Jim Tomei, worse Ryan Howard. I think he's worse by a little bit, but not by a lot. I think he finds himself at the top of C tier. Next up, we got Live Series Vlad. Taking a look at him. I believe he's an 87 overall now. Yep. Vlad right here. Looking not too bad. Definitely a solid card. Pretty good against lefties. Not great against righties. Bad fielder. I mean, he's not that great. He's not that special compared to a lot of the guys we've seen so far. He's pretty cheap, obviously. But I don't think I can put him over most of these guys, because a lot of the guys who are very good at hitting lefties are just significantly better than him, like Votto and Bagwell. So I think I'm gonna put him below Crone, I think. Do I put him below Yokeless? Let me look at Yokeless real quick and see what his hitting stats against lefties is, because I forget. Here we go. Pull up Kevin Yokeless for you guys, so you guys can see that as well. Kevin Yokeless. Yeah, I'd probably rather have Vlad than Yokeless, but I think I'd rather have Vlad than Crone. Or I think I'd rather have Crone than Vlad, so I think he falls bottom C tier to me. And then next up, we got another Live Series card, Pete Alonso, who went diamond a couple weeks ago. Very good power, poor contact. Gonna struggle hitting wise. A righty bat, which is good, but I think he's top of D tier. Personally, I don't think he's all that good. So that's where I put him. Next up, we got Eric Hosmer, one of my favorite players, but he also sucks a little bit. Eric Hosmer's card is particularly bad. He's got good contact against right, and he's a solid fielder, but everything else stinks. He cannot hit lefties, and he's very not good against righties because that power stinks. Eric Hosmer to me is worse than Pete Alonso, I think. What does he look like again? Let me check. What does Monty Irvin look like again? Oh yeah, Monty Irvin's better than Eric Hosmer, definitely. What does Paul Konerko look like again? A gold first baseman. I gotta see what Paul Konerko looks like to see if Paul Konerko is better than this Eric Hosmer. He honestly might be. All right, I don't. But Paul Konerko at least can hit one side, right? I think, or that's Carlos Delgado. My bad. Paul Konerko right here. Yeah. Harold Hosmer's probably better than Konerko, but not by a lot, honestly, man. I think it's very close. Next up, we got Live Series Freddie Freeman. Ever since he's gone down, not that great, honestly. He looks like a worse Konerko or a worse Hosmer. Is he better than Morneau? Let's check real quick. He is very even. I think him and Morneau are honestly dead even when it comes to stats, so I'd go Morneau personally, I think, but I think it's very close between him and Freeman. And then last up, we got Josh Bell coming in. Another switch hitter at first base, which I really like. And he's got very balanced stats. He's got solid fielding, probably a little about average fielding. Good against righties, solid against lefties. Josh Bell, because of his switch hit ability, I think this is very even with that Eddie Murray that we saw earlier. Taking a look at him again. He's got better hitting stats than Eddie Murray, so I think Josh Bell, to me, falls right here, I think. Right behind Paul Goldschmidt. And I think that's my first baseman tier list, man. Those are all of the first basemen in the game. If I did forget someone, please let me know. But I believe I got everybody of importance. We got Rod Carew at the very bottom. I think that card is so poor. But other than that, I think this is pretty dang good. I like the four guys I got up top. Thomas, Tolia, Santana, and Delgado. I think they are the 4 best first basemen in the game, with Nick Pratto, Walsh, Ortiz, and Alonso all knocking on the door in A. I like this. I think this is a pretty good tier list. Like I said, if you want to make your own, it will be linked in the description. But yeah, guys, that is going to be the video. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And if you did, make sure to drop a like down below and subscribe with noties on. But yeah, I'll see you boys in the next one. Peace out.